So welcome to The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder. And today I have a special guest coming all the way from nearby Fort Myers, Florida, real far from me here. He got his real estate license at a young age of 18 years old, and with over 500 plus transactions he's had since 2007. He's doing an amazing job. He has done it all from working with seasoned investors, first-time home buyers, to REO companies. He offers one-of-a-kind marketing to sellers with customized and personal virtual tours, extensive internet marketing, and professional photography packages, which we're going to dive into today. Outside of real estate, he said he really enjoys long walks on the beach, but he hates the walk back. Playing guitar in a touring band called the Wild Fever and getting to meet new people. That is the number one reason he does what he does. He loves meeting new people, hearing their stories, and helping them achieve their goals, whatever that might be. Derrick Gregory, welcome to The Real Build. Happy to have you on. How you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Hate the walk back, man.
Who likes the walk back? You know,
No one likes it. It's like you're halfway, and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, you in that walk, while you're walking, you don't realize how far you really go, and then you turn around and you go, "Holy crap, I'm far!" You know, so it's it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I agree with you 100% there. But no, I'm happy to have you on, man. You've been killing it. I've been watching your stuff. We both have a similar take on marketing, which that's what I wanted to have kind of an open discussion with you. Actually met you through Josh Marzuko. And he was the one that kind of showed me what you were doing and so on, which, I mean, I love your videos, man. And like, that's why I'm happy to have you on, because some of the stuff is just, people need to check you out. It's hilarious too. And you've been growing, your social media has been growing. I've been noticing that. So good for you. And we're going to touch on all that stuff. So with that being said, I always start out with the main question. So let's talk about, who is Derrick Gregory?
He's a guy that hates the long walks back on the beach. So I'm sorry, I had a thing pop up. Well, I'm, like you said, I do a lot of stuff, real estate in the Fort Myers area. Originally from Long Beach, California. My parents were missionaries, and so at the young age, I spent a little bit of time in Guam, and then they moved back to California, and then we moved to Fiji when I was like 9, and we were there, well, like 8 or 9. We were there for quite a while as missionaries in Fiji. So the Fiji water you drink, I swam in it. And then we moved back to the States, and my grandparents ended up retiring to Southwest Florida, and we thought we were going back to California, and ultimately ended up coming to Florida because that's where they were. And man, we got here, and I ended up getting into real estate and kind of been doing it ever since.
Awesome. And I mean, being in Fiji, I mean, that's got to be something a hell of an experience there, right? I mean, that's I mean, what happens in Fiji? What would you do there? You know,
not a lot. I mean, it's a third world country. Beautiful, right? Like super beautiful. It's I mean, I really am grateful that that's kind of the upbringing that I had. I feel like I have a different perspective on things growing up in a place that's so diverse, and not as fortunate as we are, here in the States. So for sure, that's one thing that, I'm glad, right? Like, I'm glad that that's kind of where I grew up, but beautiful place. It's funny. It's like you live there and you don't realize like the beauty that it is until like you leave it, and how cool it was that, like, oh man, I grew up in Fiji, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it was really cool. I feel like being there, it's For me and my brother, you know, we had a pretty creative upbringing because there wasn't a whole lot to do. So I think on that side of things, it like really helped, you know.
Yeah, you had to keep yourself entertained too. I mean,
Sure.
it's you don't realize the beauty of things until you leave them. I mean, we're in a nice area right now too, being in Southwest Florida, and I mean, you do take things for granted. I mean, we got
Yeah.
beaches, we got the sun, we got all this stuff, and it's just when you leave, you're like, yeah, I guess you do
Right.
really live in a nice place too, and yeah, growing up in Fiji too, and swimming in that water we all drink those
Great
$5
water.
per
Yeah.
bottle. I'd be going through the
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
taking it
Yeah.
all in. So how did you get started in I want to get into that a little bit. So why real estate? And like I brushed on in your intro, you've been doing it since a young age of 18. Not many 18-year-olds are thinking about, okay, I'm going to go sell some houses and make some money. Most 18-year-olds are ready to go to college and go party or have a good time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've been doing it from such a young age and obviously had some success with it. So why real estate and how'd you get into it?
So, I mean, you literally just touched on part of why I got into it. I didn't want to go to college.
Okay.
And one of the cool things too, growing up, I feel like my parents were very supportive. Like all my cousins and family member, that was all about like everything. The end goal was like college. Like you got to go to college if you want to be successful. If you want to do anything important or have a successful job, you have to go to college. And so one of the cool things about my parents was it was more about like doing something that you love, and it's not necessarily about going to college. My dad has a degree in college and in geography, and one of his things is he was like, I got this degree, I spent all this time in college and I never use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was having this perspective from parents that were not, it wasn't a lot of pressure. I think a lot of kids have pressure from their parents of like, you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to do that. And that wasn't the case for me. So I was homeschooled. So it's kind of funny, a little bit of a weirdo, like most homeschool kids. But that was just one thing, man. And I think a lot of people relate with that. Like they're not crazy about school. I have, my attention is all over the place. So school was something that was pretty difficult for me. And so when my parents, encouraged me to pursue something that I love and not necessarily like pressing on me to go to college, it kind of gave me a little bit of a freedom, right? And so when we moved back to the States from Fiji, I really didn't have any work experience. As we were over there as missionaries, it was kind of strictly on, a missionary visa. It wasn't, to be able to do work. So I came back to the States, big culture shock, didn't really know. I mean, there was a ton of stuff that was just like super foreign to me. And, I ended up getting a job as a secretary at a real estate office. I was 17. And when I was there, I was like, I could do this. I could do real estate. And as soon as I turned 18, I got a job at Sherwin-Williams. And I was there a couple of months and I was like, I hate this. I can't do this. And I knew I didn't want to go to college. And so real estate was something that kind of popped up to me to where it was like, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I'm very good with people. I love interacting with people. And I feel like that can accommodate my personality type. So I ended up getting my license. Again, didn't really know what I was doing. It wasn't like I had this strong ambition towards real estate or anything like that. It was just, I had kind of experienced it a little bit, and you could get your license in 2-3 weeks. And I was like, hey, sign me up. Right. Like, I remember growing up, I wanted to be a heart doctor. That was like something I wanted to do. And then it was like, you had to go to school for like 8 to 10 years. And I was like, And then I was like, I love animals. I think I want to be a veterinarian. And the same thing, it was like 8 to 10 years. I was like, nah, not happening.
Yeah.
And with real estate, it was just a couple of weeks. You could get licensed, and it's actually a career. So I ended up doing that, and dived right into it, and kind of been doing it ever since.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and I mean, it's a couple things off of that too. It's I come from like a similar family. None of my family really went to college. I actually ended up going to college because I played football, and that was probably the only reason I went to college. I didn't care about getting a degree or anything. I wanted to play sports. So, I mean, I started the process, obviously 2 years of college, and I ended up getting hurt with football. I moved back, and my story, I went into actual car sales because I felt the same as you. I could do better than what I was doing. I was working for my dad at the time, being his laborer, out in the sun, digging ditches, stuff like that. I'm like, man, I could do something better and make some money here. And I was at a young age too. Yeah, and so then I went into the car business because my sister's boyfriend had he worked for him at the time. Or long story short, people have heard that story, but it really, you know, I wanted to push myself further and do something where I could make money, and that's what I ended up doing. But I didn't want to be in car sales my whole entire life, but that was one stop that kind of made me into who I am as well,
Hmm.
like yourself. And we all go through life and try and figure things out, and good for your parents too, because with the school thing, I mean, a lot of parents do pressure their kids into, you got to go to college, you got to go
Yeah.
to college. But with sales, I mean, sales, the opportunity is endless. And that's the
Right.
thing. I mean, you can make just as much money as a doctor with a 9-year degree, or a veterinarian with their, however long it takes them. You can make just as much money as them, if not more, by being a salesperson. And you
Right.
are the responsible for, how much effort goes in and how much you put out and so on, and how much money you make. And that's what a lot of younger people don't understand. I mean, you at 18, that's what's impressive, doing that. But also, I mean, there's a lot of older people that like working with younger people too. And
Hmm.
I discovered that when I was in car sales. They would walk up to me because I didn't look like that. And no offense to all car salesmen, they're not like this, but I didn't look like that guy with the slick back hair that's sitting out front dragging cigarettes,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying, you want to buy a car?
Hey.
I was that clean cut kid that they're like, all right, I can work with this kid, or maybe I can even wheel and deal him better than that old
Right.
guy that's over, the old silver fox in the corner over there or
Yeah.
something. But it's just I give you a lot of credit, you going into the real estate business, because it's such a tough business. I mean, it's gotten, at a young age, it's gotten you where you are today. I'm sure it wasn't easy when you first started.
No, I mean, I got in, it was, 2007, 2008, like the market was crashing.
Hmm.
So it was kind of, I mean, it was tough. Like I've had a couple people message me, obviously with the whole coronavirus thing, of people that are just getting into the business. And, but one of the cool things that I take away from that is I got in at such a difficult time.
Yeah.
It forced me to develop good habits.
Hmm.
Right. And so I think you get a lot of people that, when real estate's booming, everyone wants to get in real estate.
Oh
Literally an ant,
yeah.
not like your aunt, but like the animal. An ant can get in and sell a house. Like it's easy when the market's, moving and things are going like that. But it's like I got in at a difficult time. So I had joined an office, and there was all these like big hitter top producer agents from a Remax. And I remember going in, and they're like, oh, this is so-and-so. They did X amount of deals. And this guy over here did X amount of deals. And it was super intimidating because I'm like just getting into this. Well, it was during a time where things were changing. And so a lot of these people that had gotten lazy, they ended up getting phased out as time went on. Right. And so during that time, I'm super grateful. At the time, it was very hard. Didn't make a lot of money starting out. It was very difficult. I think my first year in real estate, I probably made like 16 grand. Like it wasn't good. And I'm talking like hustling and making peanuts. And so, but during that time, I think that's the case with anything, right? Like whatever you go through, like you had even said, like with car sales and things like that, like you can use that to as a learning process, right? As to develop yourself, develop your character. And that's what happened for me. Like I had developed all these really good habits and good work ethic to the point a lot of these agents that were top producers all ended up getting out of real estate whenever things had crashed. And I just kind of stuck with it, kept grinding, and kept going through that whole process.
Which is the real estate. Yeah. I mean, you hit it spot on when times are good. And that's in any business. I mean, even with the construction business, I deal with that when times are good. Everybody becomes a builder, or there's a guy with a pickup truck. He has slaps a builder sticker on, gets the license and
Right.
so on. But, I was in the same situation as you. I got into car sales in 2008 also. And it was having to figure out I've never done anything like that. And I was having to figure out how I can be better at it and do good at it, which I ended up doing really well, but I just didn't want to continue to do it and ended up going
Mm,
back to school because, I just couldn't be a car salesman my whole life.
yeah.
No offense to them, but, it's just, that wasn't my thing. And I'd rather sell homes and stuff. I know more about them, but it was hard at that time, but that process helped me learn cold calling. It helped me learn how to shift and deal with other ways of marketing and so on. And back then, marketing wasn't as easy as it is now, where we had all the social media and everything too. I think the iPhone was just coming out back then, but makes us sound old, right? But
Yeah.
it was just it's crazy to deal with, or crazy to see the processes and everything and how it develops you, and you went through it too. I mean, real estate, people come and go, come and go, come and go constantly. And even through times like we're going through recently, I mean, that's a shift that you had to make. I mean, if like with the stuff you're doing, and we're going to get into that with your marketing, well, it was perfect timing for your marketing because why? All eyes are online.
Hmm.
Everybody's on social media. Everybody's sitting at home. They're looking at property. They're on Zillow. They're on certain things, just imagining, oh, I can't wait to get down to Florida, because we're open down here. Meanwhile, there's a lot of places still locked down. But I mean, it's just you have to learn to make those shifts. And I'm sure being from 18 years old till now, you've learned a lot and had to learn different ways of bettering your business, which I'm seeing already. So,
I think it's a big thing too, like adapting, right? Like if you
hmm
don't adapt, you get phased out.
hmm
And that's one thing for me. Like I know you had mentioned at the start of the intro. Like I did REOs. I worked with buyers. When I first started, I was just doing rentals just to kind of make ends meet. So as things change and technology changes, it's like you have to be willing to adapt to what's happening. And I know you'll get to it as well as far as like marketing and stuff like that. Like, dude, by no means do I have it all figured out. I'm literally learning as I go every
hmm
day, but it's that willingness to not be rigid in one thing. Like this is what I do, and I'm going to always do this. Like, and that's it. It's like being fluid and being able to adapt and change as times change, right? And so that's one thing that I definitely would say. I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to do. And I know this is not kind of the end. Like there's going to be more stuff that
hmm
changes and adjusts, and that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let's get into that a little bit more too, because on this one, I want to have obviously more of a conversation with you. And I want to talk about marketing because shows in the past, obviously I've done more question and answer approach, but I feel like with you, this is the perfect show with stuff you're doing. And I'll put a link to obviously your YouTube and everything on this so people can go check out some of those awesome videos you're putting out. But let's talk about like new marketing strategies versus old. And me and you were talking about this a little bit before we started the show is, like the transition from going from, and I still drives me nuts to this day when I see a lot of these realtors where they say virtual tour and then you click on the link and it's just a slideshow of pictures. drives
Amateur.
me drives me insane, but they're all still doing it. So there's an
Yeah.
old school way, and then you also, a lot of realtors, the next step up from that is the videos with the techno playing in the background, and you know, you got the nice shots, which are still good, they still work,
Yeah,
I mean, to showcase homes. But you know, me and you are actually doing a different approach. Yours are very creative too, and it's just I'm doing more walkthroughs of our construction projects and doing some other stuff with my listings and so on, and some of the stuff you're doing. So let's talk about new versus old school approaches and what you're seeing with that.
yeah. I mean, I think as far as old school goes, one of the things I've noticed is for the longest time with real estate agents, they don't have to put a lot of effort into it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you have a nice home, if it's priced right or whatever, it's going to sell. Um, and even, you know, real estate is kind of an industry. You get a lot of, I remember whenever I was doing my real estate course or in the class, it was like everyone in there was like, you know, 75 years old, right? Like a lot of it was like a lot older demographic of people that were doing it. And even, you know, like I had mentioned, some of the people that were still in the business, it's kind of like they have their method as far as what worked. Like this worked before, so this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that just kind of speaks towards, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. My thing, it's like the more stuff you can do, the better. You know, I don't think there's like, this is the only tried and true way and this is all that works. Like I think there's a lot of different stuff that people can do to generate business, to create attention, billboards, mailers. Like there's a lot of different stuff, but I think for some people, they're still set on what used to work, and maybe that was just
Mm-hmm.
you know, putting the house in the MLS, and it ultimately will end up selling. Um, uh, you know, so that's one of the things too. It's like there's some people that are so tied into what used to work that they're not willing to adjust.
Newspapers.
What's it?
Like
Newspapers? Yeah,
newspapers, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Which again, I mean, you know, to speak to that too, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you have to be conscious of what's going on right now. And social media is such an amazing platform and opportunity to get your message out, to build your brand, to, you know, highlight and showcase your properties, your listings. And people are just not, I don't know if they're scared with it. I don't know if it's a situation of they're just not willing to spend the time it takes to learn about it. I'm sure all of that kind of applies to it. But you got to put time into it. You got to be willing to adapt and adjust and learn and educate yourself. Like even with me, like I'm doing a lot more video,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had people ask me, you know, I get messages of people like, okay, well, how do you do this? Or what do you do that? And I mean, honestly, it's just like putting time into it, right? Like just like, you know, the first time I edited the video, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I had to put time into it. I had to learn. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have a six pack abs right away. Like you got to go, you got to do the crunches, you got to eat healthy. Like it takes time to develop and learn what you're doing. And I mean, there's not like a secret formula. It's just, you know, being willing to learn and put the time into it and that sort of thing. So as far as like what's new, I mean, we have probably, in my opinion, one of the best opportunities with all the technology that we have. So I think we would be doing a disservice to ourselves, our customers, to not put in the time to learn how to market ourselves, how to market our listings, how to generate buyers, how to educate buyers about, you know, the process. It's just an amazing platform, and a lot of it's free, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't cost you anything on some of these platforms as far as, you know, being able to advertise and market. So there's some people that are just not comfortable with it, and you know, there could be a variety of reasons, whether that's they just don't want to put the time into it, you know, they don't see the value in it. But I definitely think now and I've started to lean into it a bit more, is video and being able to brand yourself and your business. And, it's crucial, right?
Yeah, no, time is huge, huge, huge. I mean, you got to be willing to put in the time and take the time to, do these things too. And I mean, obviously your editing is unbelievable. And I don't know if you do your own editing or if you're having somebody else do it now or whatever, but you got some unbelievable editing. But there's also simple ways to edit too. I mean, if you got a MacBook or if you got even a PC, there's small editors like even iMovie. That's what I use. Like,
Yeah.
I've shipped mine out to somebody, and I mean, you can use websites like Fiverr and so on, where these guys from overseas will edit your product for cheap, and they'll do a good job at it, and they give you unlimited edits and so on. I mean, there's so many opportunities to save you time, but also you have to put in the time too. Like I personally just edit my stuff real quick. I like the last video I did. Yeah, it took me time to do it. I spent on a Sunday sitting there making the edits myself, but it turned out funny. It turned out good. Everybody that saw it said this is hilarious and so on. And it took time to do it, but it got people noticed it. People are going to remember it. It's something that they're going to remember. And like your videos too, people are going to remember your videos. It's not just that typical walkthrough video and so on. And like you said, I got no issues with everybody who's advertising in newspapers and doing those type of things on advertisements, but things are changing and you have to evolve. And I'm a big believer that those who aren't evolving with the times, like I'm probably the only builder in my area doing video, doing podcasts, doing certain things. I think in a few years they're going to be left behind because people are going more and more to Google and search engines to find
Yeah.
stuff. Well, who's going to keep popping up? Who's this Bill Reiman guy? Why has he got all this stuff? He's got podcasts, he's got video, he's got all these articles, he's got this. Where's everybody else?
Right.
That's the thing. And there's a lot more people. Yeah, word of mouth's huge. That's obviously a given too. But as far as advertising, marketing, and so on, I've been pumping out video left and right. And you're right. A lot of people probably aren't comfortable to do it. And once you get out of your shell and just go for it and stop worrying, and majority of the people that aren't comfortable, they're worried about what everybody's going to think about them. But
Hmm.
when you finally do it, you actually kind of get more compliments than negativity, and you're like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Like people like
Yeah.
my stuff,
Yeah. They like the flag pants.
Yeah. People think that's funny. People think that's creative. You're going to have negative people that get on there that are keyboard, commandos that are going to say something because they're sitting at home and quarantine and not doing it. I mean, there's always going to be somebody that has something to say, but that's a great thing about social media. There's a block button, or you can
Hmm.
delete that or hide there's certain things you can do just to kind of mute those people too.
Right.
And because you're going to get more positive than negative, long story short too, if you
Sure.
just go ahead and do it. So, and that's what I've noticed as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I, the positive and negative, like it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what strategy you take. Like
Mhm.
you're going to get people that don't agree with what you do. And so I think we were even talking before we started this interview. Was there's a guy I do a lot of business with that called me and was like, "Hey, I've been seeing some of the videos that you're doing, and wow, you're killing it. But I think you need to do more serious stuff." So it's just funny. Like it doesn't matter. Like you could do stuff that's so serious, and then people are like, "Hey, you need to lighten up a bit," right? Um, so that's one of the things for me. It's like I just have to, at the end of the day, I have to be true to who I am, right? And I try not to get too high when I get a lot of praise, and I try not to get too low when I get a lot of negative feedback, because you're going to get both, regardless of what lane you go through. So that's just kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, but you just said it right there too. People, you want to be who you are, and I've talked about this in the past too. Is people want to see the real you. I mean,
100.
whether it's just you doing funny videos or you doing a serious video about a day in the life, and you've hit all these on your Instagram, I've seen too. But even doing a story, telling your story about who you are too, people relate to that. And that's what people are wanting to see, because I've gotten a lot of customers. I've gotten a lot off of social media lately, and a lot of the people that go with me or choose to go with me relate with me in some kind of way.
Hmm.
And I've said this too, is that kind of weans out the people that don't want to work with you, because they're going to see that they don't like you. If they're right off the bat, if they don't like you, they're going to see that on social media, and they're not going to work with you. So
Well,
that,
to that point too, you don't want to work with them either,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's hard enough as it is, but let alone, dealing with someone that it's like there's a personality clash to where it's like, I'm not enjoying myself. You're not enjoying yourself. So it's, you would want to work with people that are attracted to who you are. And I think that's a big thing too. It's like the more true to yourself you are, and we'll probably address this even more moving forward, but dude, that was the thing for me. It was like so long I did real estate. I was like, people don't want, like, I'm a jokester. Like
Hmm.
I am super sarcastic. Um, I like to have a good time, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not good at what I do. It's just, that's just my personality type. And for the longest time, I would suppress that of like, hey, I'm in a profession here, a real estate career. Like, I have to be serious. And I think for the longest time, it was like, don't say any jokes. Don't make it lighthearted right now, because people are going to think you're a joke and they're not going to take you seriously.
Hmm.
And it got to the point, it wore me out, right? Because I'm kind of putting off this like super, super professional. There were even friends I would work with that would be looking to buy or sell a house. And they'd be like, you're a lot different when you're on the real estate
Hmm.
side than you are as a person. And it just wore me out, right? Like I felt like I was putting off this persona of like, I'm a business guy. It's all business, 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 business. And I finally get to the point, I'm like, look, I'm going to be me. I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do, but I'm going to enjoy it. And just in doing that, I mean, we're having this conversation now. I'm
Hmm.
on your podcast now because of that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
We wouldn't be having this if I was this uptight dude with a stick
No.
up my butt. And that's the thing. And the thing is, for some people, that's not true to them, right? Like there's a lot of people I know that are very, straight laced. It's like very serious, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just more about being authentic to who you are, because when you are, you will attract those people that are like that.
Hmm.
And then plus, to the point you made, it makes it so much more enjoyable. Like, I'm enjoying real estate more. I just had a closing on Friday with a family that found me off of YouTube, and they called me up and they said, hey, we saw your video, you seem like you have a good time. We want to work with someone that looks like that. Like, we want to work with someone that's similar to us. People like to be around and work with people that are like them. And I ended up having an unbelievable, like, it was such a good enjoy. Like, I could cut jokes with them. I could feel real to who I am with them, and they felt like they could be like that with me. And it ended up creating this such like a fun, enjoyable transaction, because we were all being authentic to who we were. So I definitely think, like, I do these videos, and there's some people, they don't like it. Like, they just don't like it. And that's okay, because you're probably not someone that we would have as much of an enjoyable interaction. Maybe you're better off with someone that's more straight laced and that type of personality. Like, different strokes, different folks, right? Like,
Hmm.
not everyone's going to work with everyone. So I think by being true to who you are and yourself, it's freeing for you, and two, it will attract people that are similar, and it just makes the whole process so much more enjoyable, for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and that's I mean, that's in any business too. I mean, even in the construction business, I've talked about that too. And because if there's so many people that fear being who they are because they don't think it's the right thing. Like you started out that way, and I started out that way too, to where, I restricted myself and I said, all right, I got to do it this way. But now that I'm doing it this way and doing the videos the way I am and just not caring and just being the person that I am, and people are seeing who, Bill Reiman is, there's more people being attracted to that too, because it's just with you, like there's so many people that are laid back that like the kind of the joking atmosphere. They want to have a good time because it's not an easy process,
Mhm.
and you need to keep people level headed throughout the processes too. Me and you were talking about the building process, how long that is. Well, I need to constantly be in touch with these people, make them feel good, make sure that, if they got an issue, I handle it in a certain way and so on. But they know who I am and how I act and how I'm going to react to a thing too. I mean, I got the sweetest lady that works for us. She's kind of that one that's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Then there's me
You need me
who's,
to bake you some cookies, Bill?
yeah, yeah. And then there's me that's more stern, like, this is how it is. We have to do it this way. If we do
Right.
it, and you need those too. But back to what you were saying is, I mean, with the video, people see reality. They see who you are. If you tell your story, they're really going to see who you are. More and more people are starting, and successful salespeople are starting to do this because it's a necessity nowadays too. And I mean, but there's still a lot of people that are hiding, and not willing to do it because they're just afraid. And once you get out of that, and it opens up your business tremendously, man. It's like, and then like you said too, it's working with people that you click with and mesh with. They almost become friends,
Yeah.
long-term friends. Then, and that's what it's all about, versus working with somebody that you don't, and you don't talk to them again because they don't want to deal with you ever again. So
100%. Yeah.
it's so important too. That's for sure. I want to, going on your videos a little bit. I mean, some of these things are hilarious too, and I'm going to put a link in this, like I said. But the T-Rex video I saw, that was one of the first ones I saw. Actually, the first one I saw was with your nephews. That
Mhm.
one was that was hilarious right there. I mean, how? And then the recent one where you kind of had those little puns in it, shut the front door and so on, and then you've done some just regular day in the life of realtor videos too. I mean, what's your process in coming up with this stuff? I mean, obviously you got to have a creative mind and so on. And what would be your advice to people, that are trying to do similar stuff to you and come up with some content and so on? What would be your advice?
Um, I mean,
Because it's probably natural to you, so it's probably a tough
well, yeah, I mean, that's the
answer.
tough thing. I would say, to simplify it, so say you're doing a video with a listing,
Hmm.
try to find something that's unique with the property. Like if you look long enough, there's probably something that stands out. For example, the T-Rex house, how that all happened was very organic and it happened very quickly. But one of the things that stood out to me, it was a home in Naples. They had unbelievable amenities, but there was, like, you had access to golf within the community, but there was no golf buy-in, right?
Hmm.
So it was one of those things. I remember talking with the seller, and I had never seen the house prior to going out there and filming the video. But it was just one of those things. He had mentioned something. He was talking about the community, the association, and how it had golf, and there was no fee with it. And I guess the particular street that it was on, it was like there's only a couple houses that had that. And I remember being like, that's super rare. Like, to
Hmm.
have, the ability to have golf, but then there's no fees associated with it. So I remember there was one particular thing that it just stood out, like that's super rare. So with that house in particular, it just happened real quick. Like, I had spoken with them on, I want to say it was like a Friday night, about listing the house, had a conversation. By Sunday, I was at the house filming. And I had done the video with my nephews, which was a little bit different. It wasn't your typical, like you had mentioned, techno music playing, and like the slow, shots of the
Pan
kitchen,
ups and
the pan up of the toilet bowl. It wasn't, I had done something a bit different. Sorry, I got a cough. It's not Corona. It's Corona.
Is
Maybe, I don't know.
yeah, well, get
Who
tested.
knows?
Get tested. Yeah.
But I had done something different, and so it had done really well, and I knew I wanted to do it again. So I'd even told these sellers this. I was like, hey, I'm leaning more into doing, out of the box type of videos, and I want to do something different for yours. So tell me about your property. And they had mentioned the whole golf thing, and I just so happened to have a T-Rex costume, and I was like, I can use this. I could be like, and a lot of the idea was put together on the way out to the house. But I knew one of the things I wanted to highlight was how rare it was that you had this golf membership, but there was no fees associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for someone that's like diving into it, maybe stuff might not come as easy. I would say, so say you're marketing a property, find something that's different about the house, find something that's unique about the house, and lean into it. You only need one or two things. Like if you're doing a listing video, I had a concept with the T-Rex to where I was able to thread it throughout the video. But the whole idea came from how rare it was with the whole golf situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for people that are looking to do a video for a listing, just nail down one or two things that are unique with your home. What's something different about it? At the end of the day too, it's our job to market a home. So it's our job to educate ourselves, right? To understand the market, to understand what the trends are, and try to find something that's unique about the home. I did a video which baller on a budget. It's $150,000 condo.
Mm-hmm.
Not expensive at all. Like very, very cheap. But one of the things that stood out to me was the unbelievable amount of amenities that the community had, right? So you're getting a property that's incredibly affordable, but you have so many amenities with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like this concept popped up of like a baller on a budget. Like I want to enjoy the lifestyle, but I'm on a budget, right? Like what is it? The champagne taste on a beer budget kind of concept. And that was one of the things. I'm looking at this property. I'm like, okay, there's nothing crazy about this house. Like it's super basic, right? Like Formica countertops, it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Like there's nothing that'll blow your socks off about this particular unit. But one of the cool things that stood out to me was the community itself had a lot of amenities. So I'm going to lean into one of the interesting things about that. And that was the amenities, but then also the contrast to it is it's a great price, $150,000. Like who can't qualify for 150? And yet you have all these add-ons that come with the property. So for someone that's trying to highlight a property, that's what I would say. Just look for, and it might be a small thing. It might not even be, that big of an item, but there's something, if you look hard enough and spend the time looking into it, like there's something with each and every property that you can lean into and use that to highlight the home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the main thing too, that with the video, and I love what you said right there too. Obviously, you're listening to the clients, you're sitting down and actually having that conversation with them and learning more about the property. All right, what stands out? What's this? What's that? That's going to create you the ability to be able to sell it and have all the answers to all the questions of that potential buyer coming in. So that's one of the main things right there. But another thing with your videos, though, is that you can't keep your eyes off of them. You always have that attention drawer that carries people in throughout the property. So what's going to happen next kind of effect, and that's what people need throughout a video as well. Like I brought, me and you talked about this too before we started, is the older realtor that just commented on my American flag pants video. She goes, well, that was a little bit too much, and me and my argument, okay, well, you watched the whole thing, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So and she
Gotcha.
probably did. And then you see comments below that where this one lady's an older lady, she was like, I watched this video 3 times, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. She goes, this is hilarious, awesome job. But that's what you want, is that attention factor of, okay, what's going to happen. And I put little clips of Trump in there. This is a beautiful place. Oh, this place is huge,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and just to keep that attention throughout, so it's just not on me too. But that's what it's all about, that the creativity, the people, and spending the time to do it, because not a lot of people want to put the time into marketing like you are. I mean, the creative thing about the one with your nephews, I don't know I forget what you titled that one, but it was a huge property. So that your nephew's going playing hide and go seek while you're walking around showcasing the property too, and then they pop up here and there, and you have little jokes in between, and it just
Right.
keeps you drawn in and and seeing what's coming next and so on, and that's so important in your marketing as well.
I say there's 4 E's. You have educate, entertain, engage, and entice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you look at someone, one of the biggest marketers like Geico.
Mm-hmm.
You have and they got a variety of commercials that they run. You got the caveman, you got the gecko, but in there, like, you understand what they're advertising. Save 15% or more on car insurance in 15 minutes, right? They're entertaining you, they're enticing you, they're educating you, and engaging with you. So I think that's a big thing too with real estate. It's like, sure, we have a listing that we're putting off, but I want to entice you to stay engaged in this video. And I think a good creative way to do that is to add elements within the video. Like you had mentioned, like, there's sometimes I'll watch listing videos, and there's nothing wrong. I think people that do listing videos that actually add a video, that's a huge plus over what the average agent does. So they're already
Mm-hmm.
doing better than the standard agent. But my thing is, like, what more can I do? Like, I want you to stay engaged. Like, I don't want you, like, watching it and then clicking off it, like, that's a cool house, I'm out. Like, some of the listings that I've done, like, they're nice houses, but some of them are not, like, that crazy. But what's happening is people are engaged. I have their attention throughout the course of the video. And I think that's what it's all about. That helps for your listing, and that helps for your brand even after that house sells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people remember. Like, you think about some commercials that you've watched probably during the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's probably a certain few that stick out. Like, off the top of my head, I remember what's the dude's name? Jason Momoa. He was, like, super strong and,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Rocket Mortgage. Like, I still remember that from 6 months ago. What was it? The baby nut, right? From Planners, the Peanuts. Like, there's certain things that you can do that people still remember. So the ultimate goal, if you have a listing, it's like, I'm trying to sell this property, but then the follow-up on that is, like, people are still going to remember it, because there's probably a very low percentage of people that see your videos, that see your marketing, that are ready to buy this second. But the thing is if you're able to package all of that together, people are going to remember you when they are ready to buy, when they are ready to sell. So that's my goal too. Whether it be a listing or whether it just be some random, video that I put together, it's I want to sell this property, but I also want you to remember me when all of this, when this property's gone and sold and moved on, and when you're ready to actually buy, like, you're going to remember me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that what you just said there's so big too, because there's a lot of people with their social media, and that's the approach I've taken more of, where there's so many people that are just posting family pictures, this and that, and which is okay. You should do that. You should include some normal life stuff. But when you look at all my social media platforms, personal pages, that I am a real estate broker, and I'm also a builder. And that's the brand that I've built. So you can go on anyone at LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I still haven't done TikTok yet. Everybody keeps saying to do it, but I'm not one to dance around and so on. But it's just, you can go on all those platforms and know who exactly I am, and I don't even have to talk about it. I'll do some personal stuff here and there, but I'll also go on my Facebook and utilize that as telling more stories about myself and who I am. But then I post my podcast, I post my, there's a mix of everything, but people know that what I do, and that's what they're going to go for. They know I'm in the luxury building market. They know I do real estate. They know I do these things. And that's what's so important, because a lot of people aren't doing that and utilizing social media for that. If people don't know who you are or what you do, how are you ever going to get business?
Yeah, that's the whole thing too, right? Like, be able to market yourself to where the world knows who you are. So you walk into a room and people know, hey, that's Bill.
Mm-hmm.
He's a builder. He's a real estate agent. You don't even have to introduce yourself at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the whole goal of it. Like, to market yourself, people know who you are. Like, you don't need to introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big thing for me too. Like, I did so much, and again, nothing wrong with this, realtor.com, Zillow. I did all of these things, but I was just another dude calling people that are getting lit up by 9 other agents.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know who I was. They didn't know me from a hole in the wall. So that's kind of back in August, September. I was like, dude, I'm done with this. Like, I need people to know who I am. And it's even funny, like, I posted a couple things too. I've been doing this a while. Like, I've been doing it a long time, and no one knew who I was. I was in obscurity. Like, they didn't know me from a hole in the wall. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing or I'm not good at what I do. And I have so much frustration, because it's like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I know the agents I'm competing with on these on these Zillow calls or these realtor.com calls. I know what I'm doing. I know I add value to a buyer and a seller. I know this. But the problem was, people didn't know who I was. So it doesn't matter. So until you start marketing yourself, building your brand, people don't know who you are. So it doesn't matter if you literally know everything about real estate. Like, if you can answer, if you're a real estate encyclopedia, it doesn't matter if people don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to build your brand. And I told this to you. I'm not trying to act like I know it all. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm learning as I go. But this is one of the keys. And for someone that's been doing it for so long, I'm starting to realize, I'm like, dude, you have to do this.
Oh, yeah.
You have to do this. You have to build your brand. Because whether you're with a brokerage or whatever the case is, like, or whether you're advertising through or buying leads through Zillow, realtor.com, they're building their brand. They're not building you. So, that's the thing. Agents come and go. I think there's 96% of real estate agents are out of the business within the first 5 years. And I think a lot of that, it's hard. Like, I think people get into it. And I think with Zillow, realtor.com, it's like you can make a good income. Like, I was making a ton of money off of those websites. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. But at the end of the day, it's like I wasn't building my brand. So I'm always going to go through this whole process competing with people, and we're all just a couple of fish in a bucket, right? And there's really no, like, you're opening a door for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I need to get into this house today. Can you open the door for me, right? It wasn't I want to work with Derrick because Derrick knows what he's doing. Derrick can negotiate for me. When we do our inspections, if we do put a house under contract and there's issues that come up, he's going to be able to navigate through it. It's just, hey, can you open a door? Like, oh, you called me on this lead. Can you open this house up for me now? So that's why I think brand is so important,
Well, and that's the thing, brushing on everybody that kind of goes into real estate. A lot of people, they have that big dream that, okay, I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to sell everybody a piece of property. I'm going to, all my friends are going to call me for this. And now one friend calls you, and all my, my family.
My own brother used a different agent to buy a house.
Yeah, and I've had friends, they ended up getting houses with other, which is fine, but they're like, oh, I thought you were more on the luxury end. That's why we didn't go with you. I'm like, all right, whatever, it's just, or I didn't think you had the time, stuff. Yeah. But there's a lot of people with that mentality that get into it that think they're just going to make a killing. And some do, some have success off the bat because they have the connections, they have the right people already set up in place from past
Mhm.
businesses and so on. But it really is hard too, and it's not an easy job. And like you said, like 95% of people end up quitting after the first year and a half or whatever because they spend more money than they actually make. Like, it's an expensive business to be in. MLS fees, this fee, brokerage fee, this and that. It's always like something you're getting slapped in the face with. You're just like, whoa, another fee. I thought I just paid that. What the hell's going?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you're just, and it's like one thing after the other, and you're like, hang on, I got another MLS fee due. I thought I paid that. Oh, I gotta pay for Naples MLS. Now I gotta pay for Marco MLS, and it's like boom, boom, boom. And unless you're doing business, these things add up, and then you're back to your past job again. And it's like you said, without brand these days, I just don't see anybody really progressing. And I mean, the guys that have been doing this a long time, for 30 years, they have that clientele or that Rolodex of people that they've built up over those 30 years, but they had to build some kind of brand influence back then. They didn't have the internet, they didn't have social media, but they grinded like we did, just in a different way. So now it's in a modern time. They're not going to be doing it forever, but unfortunately, real estate is a business you can do till you're like 90. Uh, but some of them are going to finally retire, and then
Or
there's going to be
die.
yeah, and then there's just going to be more business for an opportunity for people like you and me.
Mhm.
But then there's constant business, especially down here. And as you know, you're dealing with that. A lot of the baby boomers are retiring, and they're starting to come down here. Florida is known for retirement and stuff like that. And a lot of these people want to get out of these big cities or the suburbs and so on. So there's opportunity, but in order to get that opportunity, people have to notice you and they have to see you, because there's so many agents now, and it's just every day there's agents coming out of school, getting
Mhm.
their license in hopes of making a killing in this business because their friend sold a house and made 10
Right.
grand.
Yeah.
It's what you deal with. And it took me, I mean, I've been doing this 8 years now, 9 years, and to get to where I am, I've had friends ask me, they're like, hey man, I'm getting my real estate license. I think, man, I see you crushing it. I can't wait to do. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. It's taken me a
No
long
clue.
time. It's like any business. It takes you a
Yeah.
while to develop, build your brand, get to where you are, get the influence or get with people and have them refer you and so on. And I'm at that point because I've been doing it so long
Right.
too.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
You
mean,
always get those people that it's like the whole process seems a lot easier than it is. But I think real estate though is one of those business. It's the 80-20 rule. You got 20% of the agents are actually doing majority
mhm,
of the work. Because I think a lot of people get into the business underestimating what it looks like. It's hard. You're
mhm,
not getting a consistent paycheck. It takes time to build up that database. It takes time to build up. I mean, you get into it too, and there's so much to learn. Like if you're not working just for a builder and you have one product you're selling, I mean, you got condos, townhomes, villas,
mhm,
duplexes, single family homes, lots. Like there's so much stuff that you have to learn within it. It just takes time. I mean, it's a career and it takes time to figure it all out. And I think I get a lot of people that will message me and they'll be like, and I'll ask them, I'm like, why are you wanting to get real estate? Oh, I can make my own schedule. You know,
mhm.
that's a common one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, if your whole intention of getting into real estate is because you can pick your own schedule, I mean, you're going to be disappointed, You're going to be disappointed because it's like, dude, last night it was 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I got a seller of mine, calling me, blowing me up because he can't figure out how to open DocuSign, right?
Mhm.
So it's the whole schedule thing. It's like, I mean, you get out what you put into it, and you have to put a lot into it. So I think another reason you have a huge turnover, because I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're on your toes constantly. I mean, you have to be ready for what you just said. 9:30 at night, somebody's calling you. I don't know how many deals I've done at 9:30 at night and 10 o'clock where they're like, "Hey, did you send the contract? Hey, did you talk to this buyer? Hey, or your buyer? Did you talk? We need to get this done. Did you get that? And it's like you have to deal with it, or the buyer's calling you, or the seller's calling you about something. After a deal's been done, and it's if you're not constantly working, or it's never you're on your own schedule, because you're on their schedule, because as an agent you have to be available 24 hours a day, because if you're
Mhm.
not, they're going to move on to the next agent.
Oh yeah, dude.
I think it's like that statistic, you have 2 minutes to answer them or something like that, otherwise they move to the next guy, because there's
Yeah,
so many other options out there.
right.
But you have to constantly be able to, I was on the phone till 10:30 at night working on a deal, answering questions about a piece of dirt. And they were asking me a bunch of questions about, because
Yeah.
they were coming in town to actually look at it. I did a video on it. I did all these different things and did assessments on it for them and so on. But, they were still asking, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens when we build? What if this happens? And it was 10:30 at night. I'm just like, you're just half asleep answering these questions, but you have
Yeah.
to do it. And they ended up buying that lot. So it's a crazy business, man. And there's so many avenues you can go off of with it too. Like, I have a home watch business as well, that I do home watch, off of properties that I've sold to some of my buyers and so on. It's just there's so many things you can do to be successful at it and help
Mhm.
people and so on. And it's like your intro that I read too. It's all about helping people. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to ask you too. So as far as social media and everything, what platforms are you kind of focusing on? What's your main platforms you're looking at?
um, Jeez. For me right now, it's Instagram and Facebook. You know, I know you had mentioned something about TikTok. I downloaded it, and
I did the
the
same. I
correct,
didn't get far with it. I just
yeah.
downloaded it, and I'm like, then I got stuck on it. I was like, I'm sitting there, get distracted. I'm like, oh, I got to put this away.
I know. I mean, the correct answer is everything, right? The more stuff you can be on, the better. That's the correct answer.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as me, I've kind of targeted the things that have kind of been tried and true. Um, Facebook, Instagram. That's kind of really where I'm heavily on. Instagram, it's funny enough, I think I started my business Instagram back in August or September. So it hasn't even been that long. But it seems like Instagram in the real estate world is I get a lot of ads and things like that that pop up on Facebook, but it felt like Instagram was a little bit, um, I guess, somewhat untapped. Not that people aren't using it, but I just don't think it's as as much as maybe some other platforms that people are on. But for me, mostly it's Facebook and Instagram. I've really gone heavy into.
And I mean, and everybody kind of recommends, some recommend focusing on certain platforms, others recommend kind of hitting them all, others recommend posting three, like Gary Vee, I think, recommends posting 3 times a day to each of them. I don't know who has the time for that. Maybe
Yeah.
if we had a whole crew of people working under
Right.
us that can post for us, but it's as far as, I mean, one thing that's huge too is, I know you can grow organic reach, which I know you're probably doing a lot of too, but you're also running ads. So what are you kind of preferring? What's working best for you as an agent?
I mean, I think everyone would like to have organic, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. But I think ads are great too, man. Like it's especially now it's so specific. Like you can target someone that is from Long Island that likes hot dog flavored cupcakes, right? Like it's so specific. So I think that's the cool thing with running ads. It's like I can target people that are looking to buy right now. I can target people that have, a certain income bracket. Um, and like for sure, organic is great. But I think a lot of that comes with building your brand and building your
Hmm.
fan base or whatever you want to call it. Like, I think you get a lot more organic that comes from that. I was talking with someone and they're like, oh, I'm posting stuff, I'm not really getting any traction on it. I'm like, oh, because you got 12 people that are following your page. Like, you're not going to get organic if no one knows who you are.
Hmm.
So I think a big part of it for me, it's like I, not being afraid to advertise. I think a lot of it comes within. You had mentioned Gary Vee, and he talks a lot about it too. It's like creating content and then being able to market that content. And so the cool thing with advertising is it's so specific. Like, you can really, and that's the thing too, like with newspapers or things like that, you might get people that are not looking, or, might not qualify, or whatever the case is. But with advertising online, it's so, consumer specific, that it just makes it a lot easier,
Hmm.
right? Like, you can create a piece of content like, recently retired looking, or, you want to be a snowbird, right? And you can, tired of being, shoveling your driveway, you're retired. Like, you can make a specific piece of content and advertise it to someone up in New York, or advertise to someone in Pennsylvania, someone that's in a cold weather place, and be like, hey, you can come down here to Florida and, retire and hang out on the beach. Like, that's, whenever we talk about like how lucky we are now, it's like I think some people look at all of these tools as like, oh, there's just so much stuff. But it's like, if you're willing to learn, you can use this and be way more effective than you ever were, putting an ad in a magazine that
Hmm.
people might not ever see. So I think with marketing, that's such a cool opportunity that we all have it too. It's not like it's specific to one person. It's just, you got to be willing to, spend the time to learn it and figure it out. But yeah, it's great, man. I do both. I run ads, some stuff I just post, and there's some really good organic reach that comes from it, which is awesome. I love that. But I would never have a lot of that organic reach if I didn't invest into running ads
Hmm.
on the properties as well.
Yeah, an ad's been so important. I mean, I'm at least I don't think there's been a time where I'm not running an ad. And I mean, all you got to do, you can even spend just $10 a day and it gets a ton of reach on it too.
Yeah.
People think you got to spend $100 a day, this and that. No, you can spend $10 a day. I think at one time, I think during the big time lockdown time, I was running probably 5 ads a day at $10 a day. And I mean, I think two of those I ended up getting some not a listing but some buyers off of, and so on. But it's so important. And then the creative, like you said, I mean, you just said like the snowbird, you can make a video about snowbirds, you're shoveling snow, and then you're on a beach sitting in a Speedo or something, and so you're missing out down here, make it funny.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something I do. I'd probably have American
I don't
flag
think people would
Speedo.
want to see me in a Speedo.
I'd probably rock an American flag Speedo. Why not? But anyway, it's stuff like that, or like corona with the coronavirus thing and everything. A lot of people still are locked down, and I got a buddy in New Jersey, and they've still extended it, like the governor extended their lockdown to a certain extent till I think July 7th, and he's going crazy. And I mean, he even jokingly was like, man, I got to move to Florida. It's
Yeah.
just like hearing that, okay, you can make a video about, them being locked down up there, and then us here in Florida, everything's open. You want to come to a state where the beaches are, everybody's on and so there's just so much you can do. Uh,
Endless.
yeah.
It's endless. Yeah.
And creative wise, and it's just, and that's the thing, it's just about doing it. And then a lot of people, oh, I don't have the time to do it. I mean, if you got if you got kids and stuff, your kids go to bed at a certain time. From that time till you go to bed, there's 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever you have. Start making some content, writing it up, and then find time throughout your day to make the content. Especially if you're in real estate, you're gonna have a gap somewhere. There's
Hmm.
gonna be a gap. It's not always crazy, crazy, crazy. And if
Yeah.
even if you're a heavy hitter, you're gonna have a gap because you got people working under you on your team. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have time to record and use your phone. I mean, the phone cameras are crazy these days. So it's just taking the time to do it and not making excuses like we've been talking about too. That's the thing.
100%. No one has an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have, dude, a lot of a lot of the design stuff that I do for my social media posts, I do it all on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally people can do it all from their phone. They can film, they can edit. There's apps you can edit videos in your phone. Like I think a lot of it is people, it's easier to make an excuse than it is to actually spend the time to learn how to do something. Like I don't know how to do it, so I can't do it, right? It's like my mom. She always wants me to explain how to like use her iPhone. It's like, hey, have you ever heard of Google? Like you literally have the answer to any question you ever want in Google, but it's easier to have an excuse not to do something and then as to actually spend the time to learn how to do it. So you're 100% spot on with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's people just don't want to put the time into it.
Yeah, I mean it's like the mom thing too. I don't know how many times I've gotten a call.
I hit a button there. I could see you're like, oh. God.
Yeah. I've gotten a call. This isn't working, or this isn't working. I mean, I think she even has her iMessenger off because she thinks the government's gonna hack her or something like that.
She's got a piece of tape over her laptop. You know,
my mom goes a little too far down the rabbit hole sometimes, but you know,
you're like, I built her a tinfoil hat. You know, that's one of the building projects I've done.
Yeah, that's the benefits of retirement, I guess. You start, but that's the thing too. There's another topic right there. I mean, she spends a lot of time on Facebook, and there's a lot of people her age too, and everything that are on Facebook that are scrolling through, and they're gonna see your content while they're looking for, you know, why the end of the world content and stuff like that, you know, or the fake media posts that are on there too. She sent me some crazy stuff, and it's like, I've never even heard of the media branch. And then you scroll down, you can just tell it's so fake. I'm like, Mom, come on, this isn't real. But
your mom is all of our moms.
Yeah. And she's sending all this stuff through iMessage to me and stuff. And I'm just like, come on, you know, I don't even react to half of it or watch half of it. But I mean, it's just, you know, they're on there, and they're on the platform. And there's a lot of people in our demographic down this way that are her age that are moving down here and so on, that are boomers and everything. And you can target those people too. Yeah. And that's what we've been talking about. And she loves my videos, you know, and if and I got to show her your stuff, she'll love them. And there's just people that like this, especially times like this. I mean, all the negative, and everybody's wanting to stop. And that's what I replied to that realtor. I go, times like this, everybody needs to stop and have a laugh. You know, even when it's about a property, even if they're not buying something, they're going to have a laugh, and they might send that or share that with a friend or a family member that is thinking about buying something. And it's just everybody, you know, everything is so like just this. There's no comedy, no it's all serious. And times like this, to see one of your videos, it's so important to do it.
Dude. And I think at the other end of it too, it's like, I mean, we're humans, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're people at the end of the day. So it's like, you want to be able to enjoy what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it all goes back to, it's not for everyone. So I think the thing is, it's like, you're not trying to, I mean, ultimately that would be great if you could reach everyone, but at the end of the day, it's like having that understanding of like, this is not going to land with everyone, right? Like I did a video and there was like 100 people like, this is amazing, this is fantastic. And one guy wrote, you're stupid. So, you know, I mean, it's just, that's just the way that the world is. Like, it's not going to hit with everyone, but, you know, we're people. And I think that's a big part of it. Like, to enjoy what you're doing, have fun with it. But obviously be serious about it and do a really good job. Like, be good at what you do, you know?
Yeah, so, spot on, man. You're always going to get that one guy that comes out of the woodworks and has something negative. It's just, and you wait for that negative comment on it, and it comes, and you're just like, there he is, you know.
There he is. Dude, and it's like, it's funny with me. I'm just one of those guys. It's like, I always want to say something to those people too, you know, like, it's just like, don't get dragged down to that level a lot of times too. But yeah, I mean, they're going to come, they're going to come. It It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't, I mean, I would rather have the haters, because that means you're actually doing something as opposed to not doing anything at all, and you don't get any feedback. So I think that's the thing for some people. It's like, I don't want to have negative feedback. Well, then you're not doing anything. People don't know who you are. Like, if you're actually doing stuff and putting stuff out there, you're going to get people that it doesn't land with them. You know, they don't agree with it. But I think that's a good sign too, that you're on the right track. Like, probably one of the Kardashians are a good example of people that for sure they get a lot of negative feedback for what they're doing. They're doing something right because they have everyone's attention. Like, everyone knows who they are. So that's part of the territory. You know, you're going to get people that don't like you. You're going to get people that say, hey, Bill, your pants are stupid. Don't wear those pants. Those are dumb pants. I had a guy that called me. I was like, hey, I've been seeing all your videos. They're amazing, but you need to do something serious. Like, because people are not going to take you serious. It's going to happen. And I think for me, like, I feel like I'm pretty self-aware, and I try to, like, someone had messaged me. I put a video out, and I don't think I was being, I don't think I'd really processed a lot of it, and someone had messaged something, and I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, and I ended up taking it down because I didn't have a good perspective on it. So I think having that self-awareness of, like, maybe there's things that you can do better on, but at the same time too, you do have to be true to who you are and what you're doing and what's working for you, you know?
No, yeah, it's like that. I even had a guy, I think he was commenting on Marco Island. He had something went wrong when he was on Marco. I don't know what it was, but he took it out on my video. So it was like this. And then that's when I had like 4 ads running at once. And the second ad, somehow after he commented on my first, he saw my second, and he goes, I told you Marco is this, this, and this. There's a bunch of politicians there that are this. Like, he just went off, and it wasn't about my video. It was just about this area.
The island.
And he's just, I hate that place. Nobody should ever live there. And I'm just like, whoa, man. All right. I could either respond to this guy, which is probably not going to get me anywhere because he seems to want to sink this island and blow it up, you know, or I can just kind of let him be and probably just hit the hide comment button and just let him go away. So, I mean, you're gonna get these people. I'm still, you know, I'm probably gonna stop the ad on the house I just sold with the American flag pants because it just went pending yesterday. But
Nice.
you know, I've been waiting for that comment of somebody to be, well, it was that realtor. She's like, this is a little out there or a little too much. But, you know, you're always going to get something somehow, some way. You could either have a witty response to it where you're not insulting them, but you're just being smart about, you know, your response and so on, and having a good, and I've seen that with your stuff too. You have that witty response to where you're like, oh, thank you, by the way, this is, you know, and it's just funny. It's a funny response to somebody that's super serious. And sometimes they need that, you know, because there's a lot of people out there that are way too serious. And especially in time, you know, with the times we're going through and everything too, like I said, laughter and having a good joke, people love it. I mean, that's what they want and need, and there's not much of it online, especially on Facebook. It's like one thing after the other now. So
absolutely.
But so I want to get into, we're getting towards the end here. I want to get into you personally. I always ask this question because it's so important. It's been one of the main questions. I always get a different answer every time, and it's a real thinker here. So you have built, you know, an amazing brand, and you continue to grow every single day, and you've done so good with real estate and so on. So what lessons have you learned throughout your journey that, you know, we should all apply to our own business or lives that can help us grow?
I think I'm always learning every day. Like it's, and I'd even mentioned this to you too. Like, I'm not some marketing guru. I'm learning as I go. But one thing I will say that I think a lot of people need to hear is just start. I think so many times people will make excuses and reasons not to begin or do something, to the point they never even do anything. I've had a lot of people message me through Instagram and they're like, hey, how do you do the videos? How do you do this? How do you do that? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to edit. I don't have the camera. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I want to do videos. I want to do this. I want to do all these things, but they're missing the part of just starting.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it too, even in this whole thing. It's like, dude, that's all you need, right? Yeah. That's literally all you need. And I think the big thing that people just need to hear, it's simple. Just start. Start filming a video on your phone, even if you don't edit, even if it's not crazy. I think a lot of times too, by doing things, like you get better at it. Like not everyone's going to like I'm sure whenever you did your podcast, the first episode probably wasn't the best, right?
No, it's
horrible. So it's like as time goes, like you get the reps in, you get the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And this applies to literally every aspect of life. Working out, sports. You said you played sports as well. Like you get the reps in, you do it time after time, consistency, and then you get better as time goes. Like, I could only bench press 100 pounds. You know, I've been doing it for a month, and now I'm up to 115, 120. Like, you have to develop, to stretch the fibers, to build the muscle, and all of that begins with just starting. Mm-hmm. I think people put the cart ahead of the horse way too many times, and they allow that to be a roadblock that prevents them from even doing anything. So I would say for people that are like, I'm not sure what to do, just start. Start with something. Maybe you do it and it doesn't work. Maybe it's terrible, right? At least you know, and then you can move on into another direction to do something else. So that would be one thing I would say. It's like, just begin with something. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not the right answer. Maybe it's not the path that you want to do. I have my cousin that's in the process of getting his real estate license, and he's got all these questions like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm like, dude, just get your license and see if it's for you, right? See if it's for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you get in real estate and you hate it, but this stepping stone, this stepping block leads you into something else that you're passionate about. Videos. I've been doing real estate so long, I started to do videos and I realized I'm like, I really enjoy this. Like I love doing videos. I love creating content. I love making people laugh. I like being able to provide value to buyers and sellers while also entertaining them. So it's like, at least if you start somewhere, you know, you have a better idea than you did before you started. So that would be, I mean, super basic. Right? But just start somewhere.
No, it's huge. I mean, that's one of the biggest things because so many people fear starting. That's the biggest thing. And it holds them back from doing anything. They had just the fear alone. But to be honest, like once you get past that fear and you realize, okay, nobody cares. Everybody has their own lives. Everybody cares more about their own lives than your life. They're not looking and watching what you're doing, believe it or not. I mean, they see on social media, if you don't post, they're not going to see what you're doing, but they care more about what they got going on, their problems, their marriages, their kids, everybody has so much going on throughout the day that a lot of people are thinking, they're like, oh man, this person's going to think bad about me, or these people, everybody's going to notice me.
Yeah.
In reality, they don't care. I mean, if you're putting out something funny that makes them laugh, they're probably going to be like, wow, he's doing pretty good. Or, look at that video. That's hilarious. Or good job, man. Or if you're not producing that stuff, they don't know what you're doing because they don't care what you're doing. Exactly. That's the thing. It's just go and do it. And you're spot on with that. You may say it's basic, but it's not, because believe it or not, everybody has that issue.
I think most principles, when you break them down, they're all pretty basic, but I think people want a, secret. You said a lot about fitness. Hey, how do I get in shape? Eat healthy, work out. Like there's not like a special pill or tablet. Like
they want the magic potion. Everybody wants the magic potion.
100%. 100%. So, I mean, a lot of it comes down just to the basics, and I would say it's the same thing that fitness or whatever other aspect, whether it's real estate or even building. Like, how do I get in a building? I don't know, go get the builder's book. I don't know how to build, but you know what I'm saying? Like you have to start with something. And I think by doing that, that will obviously put you in a position to, whether it's that lane you want to go down or something else, but you have to start.
Mm-hmm. Huge right there for sure.
Huge, huge,
Huge. And then
huge.
I always ask about, obviously about your past, but I like to hear about your future. So where will we see Derrick Gregory in the future? Who will you be?
President, dude.
Yeah.
President. Um, Man, I mean,
President Gregory.
obviously been doing real estate a long time. I found something that's really kind of set a spark in me through creating content. I feel there was a period of time where I almost felt robotic. And I think with creating and doing stuff like sorry, I heard like some banging outside. Amazon guys are getting aggressive. It's with creating content and doing stuff, it's just rejuvenated something within me to where it's like, I love this. Like, I love it. And I through it, it's brought a lot of different connections. Like even with you, with Josh, like these are all people I didn't know. And as far as what I think in the future holds for me, I just, as I learn, as I grow, I'd love to be able to help people with doing things outside of the box, with stepping out of their comfort zone. In just a small scale through my social media, I've been able to have conversations with people through, DMs and things like that, to where it's like, man, if I can really encourage you to do something and then that helps you and then you can then affect, other people through that. I mean, that's huge. Like that's bigger than me. So I think moving forward, I'd love to dive into a lot more of that, whether that be through, talking about videos, from, creative concepts to helping. I just, 2 weeks ago, there was an agent that I never even really thought of this, but there's started to be a lot of agents that have reached out to me about like, hey, would you help me do a video? And that's kind of been something that's just organically popped up to where I'm like, I hadn't really thought about it, but
Mhm.
sure. So 2 weeks ago, there's a friend of mine who's an agent that has a listing in Matlacha, and I went out with him and helped him film it and, process ideas and things like that. So I think moving forward, obviously I'm going to always do real estate, always going to invest. I got a couple rental properties that I own. And things like that. But I think another branch that I want to dive into is how can I help other people? What does that look like? How can I add value to them and what they're doing? So probably do
Yeah.
a lot more of that moving forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, with your growth too and everything, it's just something always comes out of another thing. And me and you talked about this too. Is like with me with real estate and construction, I do home watch on the side and so on. Or, I'm not doing any kind of video like you yourself because your stuff's phenomenal. As far as your editing and everything, it's just something will always come out of something, and the more you grow, and you're growing organically at a good rate because it's all word of mouth. People are like, you got to watch this guy, and tagging you and stuff and so on. It's like I had Ed Stulak on, and he's a prime example of this. His brand has exploded. I mean, but he's doing it right, and he's taking that brand to the next level by doing appearances and speaking and doing all these different things, to where now he's a brand coach for realtors. So he
Yeah.
was a real estate agent that turned into a real estate agent brand coach. So
Yeah.
there's always opportunity on with other avenues too while doing this business. But like like we just first talked about, if you don't do, it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen. Yeah,
Hmm. So,
absolutely, man.
so,
Yeah, you're spot on.
but anyway, so last question. This is what this show's all about. What exactly do people need to look for when buying or selling a home, and why should they choose Derrick Gregory as their realtor of choice?
Um, I mean, honestly, like there's a lot of options for buyers and sellers. There's a ton of options. There's constantly people getting into the business. I think it goes back to what I said. you have such a high turnover rate for agents. You do get people that get into the business with not the understanding of what it takes. As far as why people should work with me, obviously I've been doing it a while and I know what I'm doing. And I feel like if you didn't work with me, or at least have a chance to talk with me to show you what I can provide for you as a buyer, a seller, I honestly think you'd be doing yourself a disservice. And not by no means do I say that to sound like cocky or a jerk or anything like that. I just know I've been doing it long enough to know the value that I provide to people. Mm-hmm. I've seen people work with agents and heard stories of how, oh, that agent could have saved you a couple thousand by negotiating X, Y, or Z, and they didn't. Because a lot of times agents are more concerned with the commission they're going to get as opposed to the customer. And that's something that I've always taken pride in. It's like I will die on a hill for my buyers or my sellers. So, and then you add on top all the marketing and things like that come with it. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about the customer, right? So if someone has a bad experience or they don't like me, they're going to tell people. So I love the word of mouth. I love, hearing feedback from buyers and sellers that have worked with me, that have had good experiences. And I work hard, man. Like I really, really, really do. Like I work so hard for my people. And a lot of times it ends up becoming more of a relationship than like a transactional thing with people. So, I've built a ton of friends through this. So it's like, man, I want you guys to win. Like I want, at the end of the deal, at the end of this transaction, I want you to come out, feeling like you came away with the positive side, So I think for buyers and sellers, as far as if they should work with me, at least have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone's got one family member or one aunt or someone that does real estate or maybe has their license, so there's tons of agents out there, but I think it's important to find the people that this is their career. I'm not working, a part-time job to like, this is what I do. This is my profession. There's nothing else that I do. It's real estate. That's it. So I think for your biggest financial investment of most people in their lives, like it's good to talk with people that do this full time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Great answer. And Derrick, this has been awesome, man. Great information. It was great conversation too. I'm sure people are going to take a lot out of this. So I was happy to have you on and have this talk with you. And I even learned some stuff too. And obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing more of your content too. And I'll keep pumping it out myself.
Dude, thanks, Bill. I appreciate you having me on. Honestly, I had heard someone had sent me a link of a podcast that you were doing, and you guys were talking about me, and that was like one of the first, like, what is happening? Like, someone, I don't even know them, and they're talking about me. So thank you.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, it's so kind of you to take your time to, interview me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go, but I think it's cool being able to connect with like-minded people that want to grow and build something. And obviously we're all in the same community together. So it's good, man. Educate people, learn, build each other up.
I mean, it's all about the connections, and and I'm sure we'll do more projects and stuff like that in the future for sure. And that's what it's all about too. And that's what this show's all about. It's not just about, helping clients and showing them what to look for. It's more about it's also about connecting like-minded people and individuals that want to go above and beyond for clients too. And that's what I've had on here, and we all learn from each other. And and you have those connections too that last if we ever need to help each other out and so on too. But last thing real quick too, before we go, where can people find and connect with you?
MySpace. Just kidding, dude. Facebook, Instagram, those are probably I have YouTube as well. Instagram handle is Derrick, Southwest Florida, SWFL Realtor. So Derrick, SWFL Realtor. Same thing with Facebook, YouTube as well. But yeah, man, I try to stay pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, and if people message me, I always try to communicate with them. And, if there's any advice or insight or anything that I can do to help people out, I absolutely want to do. I'm an open book. So yeah, those are probably the best spots to hit me up at.
Awesome, man. This has been awesome, Derrick. I really appreciate it again. And once again, everybody that is listening, I don't ask for any kind of money or I don't advertise on this show. So please feel free to comment, like, 5-star, write a review. It only takes 2 seconds. Do that for me. And thank you guys for listening as always. And I will see you guys on the next episode.